Free to Go is sponsored by Milburn Men's Clothing, where top athletes shop for sharp, tailored style. And whether Mark and I are in the studio or the courtroom, Milburn dresses us for success. Mention YFTG and get 10% off at Milburn Men's Clothing, which has been providing the finest in men's clothing and suits since 1946. Call 651-645-2922 or visit www.milburn.com. Welcome back, everybody, to Your Free to Go. Mark and I are here today, and we're always very honored when one of our clients decides to come on the show and be a guest and speak to our audience. And it's so important for them, for the world, to hear their story. And we're humbled by the fact that our clients will come and share their story with the world on our show. So you're in for a really good show today, because today's one of those days where we have a very special client. It's someone I met back in October of 2021, right after the feds came knocking on her door, and you're going to hear her story today. This is a case that boils down to two things: the power of the prosecutor and really overreaching by the prosecutor. Mark and I have talked about in preparation for this episode.
A political prosecution, we believe.
The second thing is a political prosecution. But for the political nature at the time, back in 2021, this case probably never would have gone forward. But it's also important for our audience to know, as criminal defense lawyers, we are neutral. We will represent people on the right, we'll represent people on the left. We are advocates for our client, no matter what their personal beliefs are. And we will always advocate aggressively and appropriately for our client, no matter what their race, color, religion, preferences are in life. We're there for anybody. And this client today, who I'll introduce in a second, is someone that, and this often happens, where we become very close with a client because they're going through a very dark and difficult time. And this is no difference. This is exactly what happened with this client I'm going to introduce right now. Her name is Aimee Harris, and she's become a very good friend and someone that I really like to communicate with and work with you as you go through life because of the consequences you experienced from this very unjust arrest. And so I'm really proud to be your friend as well as your lawyer. And I look forward to many years of working together, in this professional situation, as well as just as we've gotten to know each other on a personal level as well, and our families, and hearing about you raising your children and all that, the good in your life. Of course, today we're going to focus on this horrendous prosecution and how it's affected you. So without any further ado, Mark, I'd like to introduce Aimee Harris to our audience. Welcome, Aimee. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. We talked a few minutes ago about, just letting us turn the microphone over to you to tell your story. I know you've never spoken about this publicly. You've been in court and had to address the judge and so forth. But this is your opportunity to kind of share with the world for the first time, really what you went through and who you are and how it's affected you. We're here to talk with you, and with you through this. If you need us, we're here. But this is your opportunity to go ahead and speak to the world.
Yeah, start from the beginning, as they say.
So in the summer of 2020, in the height of COVID, I found myself in survival mode to protect my children. I obtained a restraining order on the father of my children and on behalf of my two children who are minors.
The restraining order said that the father can't have contact with you.
Exactly.
As well as the children, or just you?
All three of us.
All three of you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's what I remember.
And I did not feel safe where I was because he had come over several times. He knew, although I had moved, would come over in the middle of the night and berate me from the street or bang on my door or come in unannounced. My children were coming to me beaten up, so I had no choice but to obtain this pro se even.
Yeah, and obviously a judge hears the issues and the facts, and you have a hearing on it, and they ruled in your favor. They confirmed your concerns, and it's a very high bar for a judge to sign off on a restraining order, especially of a parent. It's a big deal to restrict a parent from seeing their children. So they obviously believed the evidence you presented was strong enough that this order of protection was necessary.
Exactly.
So now you're doing what you have to do as a parent to protect your children.
Sure. So a friend of mine offered a home in, can I say where?
Well, in Palm Beach County.
Right, in Palm Beach County. and said that he would rarely be there, and we were more than welcome to come there, that he had a friend that had been through a similar situation, and it must be scary. He also is a family man, so wanted to help out, somebody that I'd known for about 20 years, 15 maybe at the time, and gave me full range of the home, told me where the keys were, told me to, come there and just
Make a home for you and your children,
sure,
really.
Sure.
Yeah.
So when I arrived, I was told that a cleaning lady had just been there and that I didn't need to worry about anything. My ex is also abuses drugs. And I was worried about anything like that. He, assured me he didn't drink, he didn't do drugs, there would be nothing of the sort. He was not in town at the time. When I got there, every entrance of the house was open, and there were 6 or 7, I believe. And the room that we were told that we could stay in, there were pills on the ground. So I had to set my 2 children, 3 and 4, on the couch at the time, give them something to keep them busy, and kind of do a sweep of the house. And I was told that I later found out that Ashley Biden had been at the home.
Ashley Biden being,
President Joe Biden's daughter.
okay.
You'd been in the home or in that room?
She had been in the home and was staying in that room
Understood. Okay.
prior to me being there. I later discovered a diary under the mattress of the bed that my children and I were sleeping in. And that was upwards of maybe up to a month or so after. And I had already changed the sheets several times. I just lifted the mattress and saw it tucked up under there.
So you had already been there a couple of months, a month and a half or so, you said, with your children.
Mm-hmm.
Any idea how long before that Ashley Biden had moved out before you moved in?
I thought it had been months before, but then I found out after prosecution and after all of the rigmarole with the law that it had only been a couple of weeks.
Okay, so you have a few weeks since she left,
Mm-hmm.
and now at least a month and a half that you've lived there before you find this diary. I assume it was handwritten, correct?
Mm-hmm. Was
Right.
handwritten, yes.
Okay, so now take us, because that's where this whole
How
criminal
did you know it
case.
was Ashley Biden's diary?
Well, I knew she had been in the home. I knew that there were several other items in the home that the person who shall remain nameless had rented. They were mutual acquaintances or friends. He had told me that she was there.
Stayed in that room?
Stayed in that room. I also found a sorry, we have to cut this.
Okay, take your time.
A dry cleaning bag with her name on it.
Okay, that was in the closet, right?
It was in a closet, yes.
Mhm.
And several other things. And at first, I didn't know if they were the person who had rented the home. He has sisters, so I didn't know if they belonged to her or them, or who they belonged to. But I quickly was told that they belonged to Ashley.
Right.
Sorry, I forgot.
What do you? It's okay.
So
What
you
do
got there, you took the diary out.
Mm-hmm.
I assume you read it?
Not right away. I was a little, I must say, I was a little taken back. I was a little afraid of what I might read because I knew very little about Joe Biden. All I knew was the weird hair sniffing
Yep.
and making women feel uncomfortable, children looking and feeling uncomfortable. And I was afraid of what I might read in this diary. I reached out to someone who said, open the book. Open the book. And part of me wish I never had. And part of me I think this is for me to speak out about a lot of things that have happened.
Of course.
And I think the public needs to know the truth. When I finally did open the book, I read a few short pages flipping through. I did not know the family members' immediate name, the immediate family members' names. I started looking up who Bo was, who Hunter was, who I believe her name was Kathleen or Caroline. Caroline was her name. And when I realized this is Ashley Biden's diary and she's pouring her heart out and she's telling me, or she's writing down that her father was inappropriate with her, taking showers when she was 8 years old with her and her cousin Caroline, that this was a big deal.
Right.
This is something that I've been trying to protect my children from their own father.
Right.
And this man has done some horrible things.
Right. So it definitely triggered you as well. Like it touched home for you.
Can I ask you, when you said book, can you describe what this thing looked like? the
A
diary?
black leather journal. Nothing on the front, nothing on the back, opened up several times, like right in the middle. She wrote her name, Ashley Blazer Biden, many times.
Did she date?
There were dates.
There were dates.
There were dates.
So it looked like she was continuing to write it over time? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. And I opened the episode with saying it was politically, energized prosecution. So the political climate at the time, correct me if I'm wrong, was it the election cycle where President Biden had announced that he was, he wasn't president at the time, but announced that he was running for president.
Exactly.
And President Trump announced he was running as well?
I found this was summer of 2020. So yes, because the elections that year were November 20.
Right. Right. So,
And this is just months before.
right.
So it was Biden against Trump.
Exactly.
And Biden was in office at the time, and Trump was running. Okay. So what happens to the diary?
So I handed it to a trusted friend who is now not so much. Well, first I spoke to him and asked him what I should do with this, because at that point I had read enough to realize that this is bigger than I can't just keep this.
Right.
I have to give this to somebody. And I didn't trust the police. I didn't trust anybody from what I experienced with my own family, and the law, the police, and the court system. I believed that somebody needed to see this, because this man was potentially going to be in charge of our country, and in my opinion, shouldn't be in charge of a goldfish. He committed the most heinous crime on his own daughter,
Right.
and God knows who else.
So you reach out to who you thought was a trusted friend to help figure out what can I do with this,
Exactly.
right? You and the trusted friend are Trump supporters, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And what did he suggest you do, or what did you guys do?
I met with him. He said he was going to hang on to it and he was going to talk to a few people. And I trusted him with that. He handed it over to someone else who shall remain nameless, but has been in the news about it, I believe.
It's important you said that, actually, because your case was highly publicized. There's long articles about it in the New York Times or Journal, and it's a court record. So while most of what you're saying really is public record, someone could spend a few hours Googling and researching, and they'll get to a lot of this information. But to hear it from your words is really powerful. So at that point, where does it go from there?
So Robert Kurlander passed it off to someone, and this person ended up having a get-together. And not only did we talk about what I found, I believe this person made copies of the diary.
Yeah. Well, obviously we want to protect you, and we always will. So we're not mentioning specific names in a lot of times, but the point is that a bunch of very influential, powerful, wealthy supporters of Trump were together and kind of powwowed over this diary and how to proceed, what to do with it.
Exactly.
They were strategically trying to, figure out how can we use this diary.
And I had met this person that Robert handed it off to. I'd met her a few times, and she was more welcoming and more friendly than she had ever been with me, of course.
Yeah.
After this get together, we had a private dinner where it was about 6 of us. And as I had presumed only the three of us knew, me, Robert Kurlander, and this woman. And there are a couple other people there. When I arrive, I'm the last one to get there. Everybody at the table knew. And I was a little upset. And that's when I started to question Robert Kurlander, his integrity and his loyalty to me. When I'd asked him to keep, let's figure out what we're going to do. But he was doing things behind my back, like giving this journal over to this woman that I hardly knew.
Sure, without your knowledge, permission, and so
Exactly.
forth. Right. So I understand why you would be upset. And I just to fast forward a little bit, because we all know from public record, eventually this diary somehow gets to Project Veritas,
Sure.
which is a right-wing media outlet. So how does that happen?
So this woman, she and someone else, acquaintance, or I don't know if it was a family member, reached out to Project Veritas. I don't know if they had a personal connection, but that was her solution. And at this dinner, she had told me, no one's going to help you. You have to do this to yourself. You owe this to your country. You owe this to your, as a patriot that you are, you owe this to your country. You should most certainly get this out there. This needs to get out there.
I'm sure that resonated with you.
It most certainly did.
Right, you've already established in this discussion that this was important to you. The country needed to know this.
Yes.
So that was something that resonated. And then did you meet with the leadership at Project Veritas, the
Yes.
ownership?
They flew Robert Kurlander and I to New York. And we met them.
Well, just in New York, I
Right.
believe it was a hotel, right?
We met them at a hotel, and then spent a significant amount of time with them going over the story. I thought I made sure that I did not want to be involved past this, that I didn't want my name mentioned. I was just a mother just trying to protect my children from similar circumstances. I just wanted I wanted it out to the public, and I thought that after doing some research about Project Veritas, I thought they were the people to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so did they eventually purchase the diary from you?
They did. After a little, I met a few people that worked for them. They made me feel comfortable passing it off to them, and made it very clear that if something were to happen, that they would help me in any circumstances.
Right.
And Robert actually negotiated. I needed money for an attorney.
In the family law case?
A family law
Right.
attorney, yes. Yeah. And I was compensated. My attorney I wasn't compensated, but a wire transfer, to an attorney to help me with my family law situation.
Right. Just so the viewers are very clear on this, when Project Veritas paid money, it didn't go to you to buy a car or take a cruise or buy a new outfit. It went directly to pay your attorney that you were using in your custody battle.
Not a dollar hit my hands, no.
Right, not as opposed to Robert Kurlander, who also received money. We don't know what he did with it, but we'll just assume he used it for his own benefit. But the most important thing here is not a penny hit your hands. Of course, you got the benefit of legal representation, but to protect children, no one's going to disagree with doing something like that.
Sure.
You needed that to protect the
Sure.
children. So then were you basically left out of it as you had requested from that point?
I did not hear a thing. I met with an attorney with Robert maybe about a month later with one of his attorney friends, and I think he was involved early on in the case when we were prosecuted. And really nothing else. A couple things happened between Robert and I after a 20-year friendship, maybe 15 or 20 years. And in January of 2021, I decided I was not going to speak to him anymore. I believe that was January of,
I think 21 probably.
maybe it was.
Because the feds came to your house and
When did that happen? When did you get arrested or charged? How?
The two federal agents showed up to my home. Very little people knew where I lived because of things that have happened in my past.
You had moved out of the place.
Oh yeah, I moved out of that place. I was there just from June until sometime in November of 2021.
So when did the Fed agent show up?
A year later.
It was October 21st of 21 that they knocked on
Exactly.
her door. And she
Exactly.
wasn't arrested at that time.
What happened when
No,
they came?
they came. Um, I was unable to answer the door. I was actually sick at the time. I had a girlfriend over there that was checking in to care for me. And she said, people are banging on your door and they're dressed in suits. And I thought, I didn't know what was going on. And they were very persistent. So I had her go to the door and they kept asking her, who's your attorney? Who's her attorney? And she's like, I don't know family law attorneys. I don't know their names. And then they flashed their badges. And she said, well, why didn't you just say so in the first place? You know, they were playing a game with her. And she said that, Aimee is sick right now and explained the circumstances. My son had a black eye and I was sick over that. He was with his father. And I eventually went to the door and should I say their names or no?
Well, you don't have to. It's
Right.
not
Okay.
important.
One of the agents flashed his badge and gave me a piece of paper saying that I was to hand over my cell phone and my computer forthwith. It wasn't a warrant. It wasn't anything that, any of some more legal jargon that I didn't understand because I'm not an attorney.
It wasn't
I'm
a search warrant
Nope.
order?
Nope.
No. And so what happened at that point is Aimee knew a criminal defense lawyer, and she called him. He tried to help her and realized, hey, this goes all the way up to the president of the United States. Another person running for president. This is a major, major case. I had mentored this young man when he was a younger lawyer, and he realized, let's get Aimee over to Guy, and that's where I get introduced into this
What did they
scenario.
have with them to get her cell phone?
They were just asking for her to turn it over. They didn't have any search warrant at that time. But what I want to do, this is obviously a really big moment in this case. But first, let's take a brief moment to hear from a sponsor.
Sure.
So our listeners, sit on the edge of your seat because it gets really good from here. You don't want to miss it. You're Free to Go is sponsored by Lang Realty, South Florida's premier residential real estate broker. Whether you're buying, selling, or renting a home or condo, Lang's experienced realtors are standing by ready to help you. Contact one of Lang's top realtors today at 561-703-2427. So, Aimee, did you give them your cell phone?
I did not. No, I told them I refused. I wanted to talk to an attorney. That forthwith meant nothing to me. It didn't say a search warrant. It didn't say, it was just, as I read it, it was a mere request of my computer and my cell phone, at which I would not give over because that was my lifeline to my children.
Well, you also were very wise at that point. It's perfectly acceptable to refuse a request and seek out an attorney to advise you. Most people are afraid to do that because they think that signifies that they're guilty of something.
Yeah, and whenever a client says that to me, Mark, and they say, oh, I didn't ask for an attorney because it looks like I'm guilty, I say, what do you think a police officer does when they're under investigation? First thing they do is ask for a lawyer.
I always use the example, what do you think would happen if somebody came to Warren Buffett?
Right, Warren Buffett with a subpoena.
There would be 20 attorneys contacting the government.
Right. So Amy's one of the smart ones. She realized she has a constitutional right to discuss this with counsel, and she exercised that right. So you did the right thing there. So, and then I know it kind of bounces back and forth for a little while. And what happened was I was, helping you for months and months, and the case was going to be prosecuted out of New York and so forth. And we ultimately wound up getting you a public defender to handle the actual litigation of the case and your
So
surrender.
you were charged, right?
Yes, she was actually
By
charged.
indictment?
Yes, for I
And what
believe it
was
was.
she charged with?
If I'm correct me if I'm wrong, Aimee. One count of conspiracy to commit interstate transportation of stolen property. Right. And
Property that was never stolen.
Mark and I go about that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this before. What I don't understand is how that's not considered abandoned property.
Yeah.
It's left there. If it's a diary, you would think somebody would want to keep that personal to themselves, not just leave it. And if they discover, well, I don't have it, I left it under the bed, immediately go back and get it, or call somebody and say, hey, I left personal items there. So did you think you were stealing anything?
No.
Well, of course not. Right. And so, obviously, the first word I said of the charge was conspiracy. So it means there's more than one person involved.
Right.
So this was a whole plan. I mean, the theory of the government, again, was under the President Biden administration, was that they were conspiring to do this so that Trump could beat Biden in the upcoming elections. They formed this conspiracy part, and they considered Ashley Biden a public figure because she's the daughter of a public figure, and so that gave it a little more importance in the court system as well. But I don't think there's anyone in this world who really believes that the diary was stolen. It was abandoned. Clearly, it was abandoned. So you wind up, why don't you share a little bit about, you work with a public defender and wind up, you did enter a plea in federal court in New
Had
York.
several public defenders, yeah. It's very hard to trust somebody that you do not know and to trust attorneys. So thank you, Guy, because you've been here from day one, and I really trust you. And dealing with the family court, I had dealt with so many attorneys, and they ended up burning me and not helping my children at all. So to trust somebody that was over 1,000 miles away and only speak with them over the phone, I didn't trust that. I didn't trust that the FBI or somebody wasn't listening to my phone calls. So I never divulged really 100% of the truth to anyone except for you. And yes, I had several public defenders. I ended up going in, I believe it was August of 20. I was put on.
In a house arrest?
I was put on a pretrial probation, federal probation, where I had to do many check-ins in the beginning. They had to come, and they still do. They come to my home, they search my home. So I'll do a walkthrough. They're not going through drawers and things like that, but do a walkthrough, see who lives there.
Make sure there's no drugs or or weapons.
Because they painted me as, and we should go back to this house that I found her diary in. The media, the FBI, the prosecution, they all have said that I was living in a halfway house with my children.
Right. Which
that I would,
not true.
Exactly.
Who lives in a halfway house with their kids?
Right.
Right.
I
Well,
never heard of
I
that.
have never been to any substance abuse issue. I have never had any substance abuse issues. I've never been to rehab. I have known people that have and
Right.
tried to help rehabilitate them, but
Right.
not myself.
No, I'm glad you're saying that on the record because I think a lot of people just presumed you must be an
Was
addict.
there something to do with why Ashley Biden was in that facility, in that house?
She was kicked out of rehab for relapsing, and she showed up with a nurse to this home for my friend to help her, I guess, get back on her feet, get through with
You know
whatever.
this from the friend?
He told me point blank, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I believe him.
So based on that, it was presumed that you were there as part of a halfway house situation?
I think that they tried to discredit me. And when I say they, the prosecution, the media, everybody, to discredit me just like they have any other person.
Did they have any evidence that you were involved with any kind of drug rehab?
Nope,
None.
none.
Yeah.
I don't
None.
understand.
And I mean, there were even people, a lot of people came to my rescue or had my back about certain things, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, but there are also a couple of discrepancies. I was not in rehab. I had my children with me. I have pictures of this house. I had them, through this whole time, and it was merely to discredit me and to smear me and defame me is what they ultimately ended up doing.
Yeah.
So we're at the point where you've been charged, you were forced to have a public defender because you didn't have, I assume, the funds.
$500,000 or more,
funds,
sure.
to handle that case through a private attorney. Guy was here.
Mm-hmm.
This was in New York. And you said you went through several
Public defenders. Yeah.
Ultimately, were you given advice that it's in your best interest to work out a plea?
Yes, I was backed into a corner. I was in a room smaller, about as long as this table, with the prosecution, which consisted of 3 people, the 2 FBI agents, some other maybe interns, and myself and my attorney at the time, Sanford Talkin, if I can bring him up.
Of course.
I was actually injured at the time. I got injured on the job while I was working in Florida and was forced to go up anyway. They told me I had no choice to go up. I had to sit down in a room with a stack of paper and have the prosecution go through what was, hundreds of pieces of paper of photographs, my personal text messages, all kinds of things, because eventually I was advised by counsel to hand over my phone and my computer. Mistake number 47.
Right.
And now knowing all of my constitutional rights, I walk around with a pocket constitution, and I'm teaching my children
Smart.
because I did know some laws and some part of the Constitution, but I didn't know all of it.
Well, there's a good chance they could have gotten a search warrant.
Yeah,
They
eventually.
could have.
Yeah.
They could have.
Right.
Yeah.
So why do you plead guilty? Why did you?
So
just-
I was told that if I did not plead guilty, that I could spend up to 5 years in prison. And I am a mother who takes being a mother very seriously. It's one of the only thing I ever wanted for myself was to be a mom.
Yeah, knowing you the way I do, I can attest to that.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we talk, it's always about your kids, how they're doing, what you're doing with them. So you're a beautiful parent. I respect that.
Thank you.
Right,
I
and
couldn't-
every day in this country, people make it's almost like a business decision. Do I enter this plea, even though I know I didn't do anything wrong, or do I risk going to trial and possibly going to prison for 5 years? People every day in this country have to make this really difficult decision, but in a way, you have no choice, right? You have to make the decision to protect your kids.
You know, the statement you always hear in court is that you're not punished for going to trial. You're rewarded for entering a plea, saving the cost, the time, and the effort on the part of the government to prosecute you in the court time. But the truth really is you are punished for going to trial.
Right. I call it a trial tax.
You know, it is a trial tax if you're found guilty. And I tell clients all the time, look, we have to decide what are our chances in terms of beating this case at a trial, getting an acquittal, or getting a dismissal by the court on a technicality or legal issue, and then weighing that against what happens if you're found guilty, what kind of sentences you face, versus the opportunity to get a very reasonable sentence. Of course, then you're branded a felon. You have all the consequences that come with that. And it's not just losing the right to vote or some of your civil rights. What people don't understand is so many consequences come from that, and I'm sure you're about to tell us. You lose job opportunities,
Housing.
housing,
Yeah.
banks kick you out,
Relationships.
relationships.
Yeah.
It really is very, very profound.
That's Mark. I'm glad you said that because it's the perfect transition into where we really need to go now, so our audience can really hear the consequences of someone in this situation. What was your punishment, and how has it affected you? What was the sentence? Is the right word? What was your sentence?
Well, my sentence, ultimately, it was supposed to just be probation. And in the end, I was sentenced to 30 days in prison. I was sentenced to 3 months of home confinement where I had to wear an ankle monitor,
So upon release from
like the
prison-
size of a cell phone on my ankle. Yes.
So upon release from
Upon
the
release,
jail, you get the ankle monitor, house arrest.
Exactly.
That's to make sure she didn't steal any more diaries.
Of course.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then go across state lines and sell it.
Right.
Okay, and then you go on once you get off the ankle monitor, you go on, what is it, 3 years of probation at that point? or-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, it was all kind of umbrellaed.
Right.
So after I was released from prison, it was 3
What they
years.
call supervised release in the
Right.
federal system, but it's in effect probation.
What was the prison sentence like for you?
It was horrific. It
Where
was.
did you go?
Where didn't I go? I went to 4 different prisons
For 30 days?
for 30 days.
And you did all 30 days?
I did all 30 days.
Yeah, but what people don't understand is in the federal system, if you get a sentence up to a year, you do day for day. If you get a sentence of a year for a day, a year and a day, you do like 9 months and you get game time. Anything more than a year, you get game time. Anything less than a year, you do day for day. So you did 30 days, but not in one facility?
No,
How did that happen?
I don't know if I want to
Where
go
did-
there right now.
Right. Well, let's just say this, before, we now know, the audience knows she's a single mom, with 2 children that she takes care of. So she had to plan for that, right? So she wanted to take her children to, was it your mom?
I wanted
Okay.
to take them to my mom because I worked out the time I could kind of give a time of when I wanted to what is it called?
Surrender.
Surrender, yeah,
Right.
self-surrender.
Self-surrender. So,
So I wanted to do it over the summer, and I wanted to make sure that my ex didn't have my children for the full 30 days because that's in full detriment to their mental and physical.
so she actually drives them to her mom, which is in a state north of Florida. And then you were supposed to report where? I forget where you were supposed to report to.
Miami.
Miami, that's what I thought. On her way back while driving, she gets pulled over for, it turns out to be a traffic infraction at the end of the day, but they take her to jail in Georgia, correct? Right. So that's jail number 1.
Yes.
And then,
What was the traffic infraction?
well, you pled out, was it speeding at the
Speeding.
Yeah, she got it.
Speeding and not having a license on person.
Right. She had a valid license, just wasn't on her. Right. Which gave them the basis to actually take her to jail.
Oh.
And then,
Worse than murder.
yeah, right.
Yeah, so on the way to self-surrender, I get pulled over and taken to jail about a little less than, or somewhere around 24 hours before I'm supposed to go.
Right.
Maybe 18. So that's jail number 1. And that was very humbling. It really kind of brought me to that. At that point, it hadn't really completely brought me to my knees, but I thought, oh my goodness, how did I get myself into this situation?
Yeah.
And so I spent, I think, 2 to 4 days in there. My probation officer put me on a 48-hour hold. So even though I could bail out, they kept me there.
Correct.
However, every day counted towards my sentence. Thank you. So,
That's right. You got credit.
and I pushed for that. At the time, I had a few attorneys that I was talking to help get me through that. So then I was taken to another facility via, I don't know what they were, maybe U.S. Marshals, I can't remember at this point, to another facility in Ware County.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that, but
Well, let's just say you get bounced around by van, by plane, and so forth. Ultimately, you finish your sentence in Miami?
Oklahoma. I never went to.
Right.
Never went there.
Right. You never even got to Miami. They send you to Oklahoma.
I went to 2.
El Reno,
I went to.
Oklahoma?
I went to 2. I went to 2 facilities in Georgia, then to Daytona, somewhere up there,
Yeah.
and then I'm thinking I'm going to Miami because I'm so close. And little do I know, we're getting on an airplane and they're taking me to Oklahoma. And then these women on the plane, there were very few of them, like maybe 200 men and about 10 women. And the woman next to me said, "Oh, you're doing what they call traveling."
Right.
And you have between $1,500 and $3,000 on your head. The prison and jail is $1 billion industry. They're just making money off of you.
Was that an inmate?
An inmate, yeah. And she had been doing it for 4 years. She had traveled.
Oh, my
And
God.
she's trying to
So
get
yeah,
to New York.
they make money on those transportation contracts. And I know usually the planes are dilapidated and falling apart.
There was duct tape on the wing when I looked out.
Right.
And I looked at the U.S. Marshal and I thought, I seriously? He said, well, the alternative, before I got on the plane, they said, wait a minute. You're only doing 30 days. Why are you even here? Even the U.S. Marshals thought it was a joke, you
This is
know?
all part of the fact there was a very high-profile, politically energized case and overreaching on the prosecutor that you were going through all this rigmarole. Unfortunately, it started with that mishap of the being pulled over for the speeding. That kind of set this whole thing, a whack as well. But had you just gone into
So
surrender
you
in
went
Miami,
through this hell with the
Yeah.
jails. What happened when you got out?
how's it
What's been the
affected you?
consequences?
Yeah, how's it affected your life?
It's vastly affected my life with friends, with some family, employment. And the employment started as soon as I took the plea and Palm Beach Post put my face all over the place. I lost my job immediately in the summer of 2022. With like I said, with certain friends and family and neighbors, and I can't get into HOAs. I'm a felon. I can't vote. I can't have the right to bear arms and protect myself. I have been turned down for other jobs. For a while there, I wasn't allowed to volunteer at my children's school. I couldn't figure out, is this what's holding me back? And so I had attorneys, I had other people looking into it, and then all of a sudden, boom, I'm allowed, to participate with my children. I'm not a violent criminal. I wouldn't even say that I am a criminal.
But it's pervasive how it affects your life, every aspect of your life. And I do want to point out that we are moving forward to with an application for pardon. We're looking for a presidential pardon. So if President Trump, you're out there listening, it's going to be on your desk hopefully very soon. We're working with a nonprofit organization called American Rights Alliance, ARA. We're hoping, that they'll be able to work with us to get this pardon for you, which you so deserve more than anybody. Yeah.
As I listen to this, I wonder, you said political prosecution overreaching. Let's change the facts for a second. Let's assume instead of it being the daughter of a president or a candidate, it's the daughter or son of a ultra famous celebrity.
Okay.
Okay? With salacious material in the diary that got left there. And it's now months later. Nobody's come back for it. You get it. You realize, my God, this person is super famous. The world would love to know about this. It's important because let's say this person's idolized like Bill Cosby was before everything got known. Right. And I want the world to know. I want to protect children, whatever. And you sell it to TMZ, and then they put it on. Would you be prosecuted? And would you be prosecuted with the vigor that they went after you for? I doubt it. Right. So if you use that as an example, then the ultimate conclusion is, this probably was a political prosecution. And I don't care what, I'm not advocating for either party. I'm politically neutral. I vote a la carte.
Right.
But
that's why we're very good at what we do,
yeah,
Mark. We remain neutral and advocate no matter who our client is.
And I don't care which administration it is.
Right.
A political prosecution is abhorrent, and I think it violates the very nature of our justice system, what it should be. And so I'm ashamed that this happened to you. And I'm very sorry that happened to you. And hopefully you grow stronger from it in time. It takes a long time to recover and move on. And I'm happy that you're able to tell your story.
Thank you.
You're doing a lot better today than you were, a month ago and certainly a couple of years ago. But you still have a ways to go. It's PTSD from this experience, and it's going to take a long time to recover fully from it. But I know you're such a strong woman. I know you're determined to always be there for your children, and you have responsibilities in life, and you work really hard. And I have no doubt that ultimately you rise way above this, as you already have, actually. Yeah. What else do you want our audience, kind of, we'll wrap it up here, but what else? You've been sitting quiet for so many years. Is there anything more you want to share about your story, or
I can't hit hard enough to know your rights and to speak up for yourself, to stand up for yourself. And if I was in my position, if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't have taken the plea. I would have gone to trial. I think they knew my vulnerabilities and they used them all against me, including some people I never thought would go against me.
you kind of find out who your real friends are?
100%.
Oh, I've had so many clients tell me when they are in the situation that you were in, how they discover who really are their friends and who aren't.
Right. People who just disappear out of your life, and others that move closer to you to support you no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'd really love to be an advocate for people that are in my position, because so many people are taken advantage of and backed into a corner thinking that they're the only way out is that plea deal. And I would like to believe, if I had not taken that plea, that I may not be in the position that I'm in today. I mean, I was prosecuted in the Southern District of New York, so I didn't think I had a prayer in the world. But
Right. Mark was a DA up there, so we know that, and I've had many cases there as he has, so we know that that's a very astute point. You know, other jurisdictions, you probably would have had a much better chance of a not guilty verdict. That would have been a tough jurisdiction for you. Yeah.
Well, we thank you for being brave enough to come in, share your story. I think it's instructional for
All right.
other people out there. And
I thank you as
we
well.
wish you the best moving forward.
thank you.
Yeah. All right, Mark. This was really a powerful episode.
Absolutely, and we hope people enjoyed hearing this and learned from it. And until the next time, ladies and gentlemen,
You're free to go. Down Low Investigations is a sponsor of You're Free to Go. Behind every great criminal defense attorney is a great private investigator. That's why Mark and I use Down Low to investigate cases all over the country. Down Low can help you too, whether you're running a background check on an employee or running a background check on a blind date, or let's say you need someone followed or some other type of investigative work conducted. Down Low is the way to go. Call Download Investigations at 561-843-1806. Everything expressed and discussed in this episode are the opinions and experiences of attorneys Guy Fromson and Mark Nurek and their guests. All ethical rules are complied with. Attorney-client privilege and confidential information is not shared or released during these episodes, and names, dates, locations, and other identifying information may be changed to protect confidentiality. Topics are embellished, and none of the statements made constitute legal advice and should not be considered or relied on as such.